Hello and welcome to this week's string class video. So we're going to do a body warm-up first, and then I'm going to show you my one of my methods for practicing scales called the baby shark method. So we'll do that in a second, but let's get our bodies warmed up first. So feet hip width apart, and we're going to go rock onto our toes and onto our heels, toes and heels, and then plant your feet on the floor, lift up your toes and feel roots going through all the balls of your feet and all the balls of your heels, so that you can sort of feel like you're rooted through the floor. Then we're going to loosen off our knees and do a bit of a jiggle, and then we're going to do some hip circles. Go, get nice and settled, and then we're going to sort out our trunk. So if I turn sideways, we don't want to collapse like that, and we don't want to shrug like that. So if you put your little fingers on your hip bones and your thumbs sort of where the bottom of your ribs are, and we want to feel like this section of our body is a nice stable trunk. So we've got roots, springy knees, strong chunk, and then floaty shoulders. So shrug up your shoulders and drop them down, shrug up your shoulders and drop them down, and then flicking off the drops of your fingers, and then grabbing big fistfuls. Go, and then we're just going to sort out our neck. Often when we're using our neck, we tend to tip our heads back a little bit, which again creates this sort of strain on our spine. So we're going to try and tip our chin a little bit lower and have a noble neck. Here we go, and then just give yourself a shake. Fantastic. Okay, let's get our instruments. If you haven't tuned up your instrument, go back to the tuning video now and just make sure that your open strings are in tune with mine. Alright, so we're going to do a little bit of open string practice first. So we're going to either go to the balance point if you're a violinist, or if you're a cellist or a viola player, if you're a cellist, you can go to the heel of your bow. Okay, so let me just do bow hold check for the violins first. So we're at the balance point. We're going to tap our thumb, make sure that it's on the wood of the bow between your grip and your the nut back bit. So very gently just tap that thumb there. Then we're going to tap the middle two fingers and make sure that they're flopped over the bow, not resting on top. Tap the first finger and tap the pinky. Okay, so loose thumb, loose middle fingers, loose first finger, pinky on top. Okay, and we should be able to wiggle these fingers and make the bow feel really loose. Cellos, we're going to go to the heel. So again, we have our thumb that taps in, and we're going to flop the middle fingers over. First finger goes over, and then our little finger comes in here. Okay, and we're going to rest it onto the string, but you can go to the heel so that you've got a bit more weight when you're starting off. Okay, so let's get into our playing position, and we're just going to do some open strings on a D string. So we're going to go all the way to the tip of the bow, and then all the way through right to the heel of the bow. And when you get to the heel of the bow, take off your little finger and feel the bow sort of flop. Put your little finger back on and bring it all the way to the bow. Should be sort of feeling resting on that little finger. Back we go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Stop. You should feel all the weight on that first finger pushing the bow down. Check your sounding point as we go back. We're going to stay near the bridge. 1, 2, 3, 4. Feel the weight. 5, 6, 7, 8. And then the weight should start going onto that little finger. Okay, we'll do once more. Off we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Stop. Check your knees. Check the weights on that first finger. Bow hold check. Check your thumb still bent. And back we go. 1, 2, 3, our bow today. And we need to do a little bit of work on our scales. So if you want to put your instrument down, and you can pause your video and go and get a little piece of paper so you can copy this down as I'm working with you, that's probably a good idea. So, right, back in the room. We have got, I talked to you about how a scale is symmetrical. So if we've got do, re, mi, and fa is close, and then so, la, and then ti, and then do. So we've got a semitone between mi, fa, so, la, ti, do. So we've got a semitone between ti and do, and we've got a semitone between mi and fa. And if we cut this in half, we have the same pattern. Tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone, oops, semitone, okay? So this bit here, from there to there and from there to there, are the same patterns of gaps and spaces. So when we play them on our open strings, that makes a really nice, easy finger pattern to remember how to do our scales. So if we have do, re, mi, fa, so, la, ti, do. And we've got the semitone there. Okay, so now if we put that onto our open strings, I'll use a different colour for this to help. We're going to have D is do, E is re, F sharp is mi, and G is fa. And then on the next string we've got A, B, C sharp, and D. And that's one of the first scales that we learn. Now with cellists, you have got open string, first finger, third finger, and then fourth finger. And with string violinists or violas, we do open string, first finger, and then we have a second finger and a third finger. Okay, so it's a different finger pattern for each. So let's just have a go at playing that scale through together, okay? And then I'll show you how to break it down and create a sort of ear framework. So we're going to do 2 beats and just on the middle lane. So we're looking at having the bow about in line with our F holes, starting sort of around the balance point. Cellists, you can start at the heel if you wish, and we're going to do 2 beats for each note. Off we go. 2, 2. Okay, now this is a fairly easy scale at the moment, but sometimes when our instruments are perhaps getting a little bit too small for us, or we've just moved up to a bigger instrument, the finger patterns that we're sort of used to can sometimes go a little bit out of tune, and we have to retrain our fingers to link to our ears. So I have a way of doing that that can really help create, I call it an ear framework for your scale. So we're just going to really take away a lot of the notes, and we're going to do a really basic framework. So we're going to start with D for do, D, and then we're going to do G. So we go do, fa, do, fa. That's a perfect fourth. It's the same as away in a manger, do, fa. Okay, so we're going to do open string for our D, and we're either going to do a third finger or a fourth finger if you're a cellist for our G. Now, our G is also an open string, so we can check whether that is bang in tune with our open string. Okay, so that's the first thing we're going to do. Do, fa, D, G. So can you play open D? And then we're going to find fa, which is our G. And then play your open G. And then we hand nice and loose and test. Is it in tune? Now, if your hand is like this and your thumb is pointing backwards, changing where that finger is really hard because everything's tight. So we need to make sure that our wrist isn't like this, nice and relaxed. Cellos, you need to have loose fingers on your strings so that you can adjust where they're going to go. Okay, so let's just try that again. Sing with me. So we're going to sing the D, D, then we're going to sing G, G, and then play with your finger. And that's it, and then check with your open string. And if it's bang in tune, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to see this on the video, then your G string should ring. You can make your G string buzz. And then you get that lovely ring at the end. Okay, so we've tuned half our scale. Now we're going to tune the other half. So we've gone D, G, and my singing's not going to be so great up here. A, and then do, D. Again, that's with the fourth finger or a third finger. Now this is another open string note. So we can do exactly the same pattern. So we've got do, fa, so, do is a perfect fourth. So, do, and do, fa is a perfect fourth. So we've got two pairs of perfect fourth, which is a really open sort of easy to pitch tuning. Okay, so we're going to do open A, and then think your top note, so A, and then do, and then put your fourth or third finger down, and then keep your hand nice and loose and test it with your open D, and then back. And don't be happy until you really get a ringing sound, so your open string is ringing. So open A, think the note, and then you look for the ringing. Okay, so now we're going to have a go at just practicing these frameworks. So we're going to go D, G, test the G, A, D, test the D. So open D, think the G, G, play it, test it. Think the A, think the top D, test it. And your violin or your cello should be, or your viola should be really ringing when it's in tune and it's sort of going, ooh, ooh, I like that. That finger's nice and really delicately placed just in the right place. Right, now here's where the Baby Shark bit comes in. So within that fourth, this perfect fourth, D, E, F sharp, G, 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going to do the E. So it goes D, E, G, do, re, fa. Suddenly you're starting to recognise that one, hopefully. Baby shark, 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 da, 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 baby shark. Do, re, fa, 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 do, re, fa, 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 do, re, fa, 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 fa. We're not going any further than that. Okay. Who knew Baby Shark is brilliant for practicing scales? So we're going to do open D, A, first finger, E, and then listen for the G that you've practiced before, and test with your open G. So first we're going to do a lovely lazy Baby Shark. Once it's getting there, then have a go. Okay, now the next bit is that there's another Baby Shark pattern in our scale. So instead of do, re, fa, we can do so, la, do. So we've got a so, which is our A, La, which is our B, and Do, which is our top do, which is our D. So on the A string, we're going to do open string. La is going to be our B. And then top D. And check with our open D. Open A, B, sharp. Okay, so now once we've got those pitches in our head, okay, so we've nearly done the whole scale, but instead of going up all the way up and all the way down, the thing that can happen is sometimes it's quite hard to pitch a tone or a semitone right next to each other. This way, where it's much easier to test with open strings and pitch a perfect fourth. So we're creating like a framework and then we're putting in the filling. Okay, now the one that we haven't put in is our Mi and our T. Now this is because they're semitones. Now in, sorry, baby shark, semitones in pianos, this F sharp is there, and all I can do is play an F sharp, and I can't change the pitch of that because it's on a piano. Now, with a string instrument, we can actually choose our semitones. Now, an F sharp is often higher than you think, okay? It's actually naturally higher than it is on a piano. If you're playing with a piano, you have to tune to the piano, but if we're playing in a string group, we can really snuggle in that F sharp right next to our G, okay? With a second finger if you're a violinist, or a third finger, so we get to choose our semitone. So we're going to do open D, E, find your top G, test it with your open string, really get your instrument singing, and then snuggle your second finger or your third finger to find your shark. And sing along with it, okay? So we're just going to do the last bit. We won't do it. So it goes, baby shark, do, 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 baby shark. And try and sing along. Off we go. Baby shark, do, 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 baby shark. Fantastic. We can do exactly the same. Again, choosing our semitone. Our C sharp will be higher than it is on a piano. It's that it's a sort of it's the leading note. It's the one that wants to go up to the D, up to the top of the scale. So it's sort of put, you know, T is actually so la do 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 T. It's actually saying come on, we're going up there. Yeah. So we need to have that in our heads when we're playing a C sharp. So, open A, B, choose your top, find your top D, tune with the open D, and then choose your C sharp. Okay, let's have a go together. So we're going to do A, B, and then choose your semitone. Fantastic. So you've got baby shark, 2 sets of baby shark in both sides of your scale. So you have do, re, fa, 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 mi, and so, la, do, 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 ti. And it really helps us tune those F sharps and C sharp rather than just guessing where they're going to be. So then you've got those sound world in your head. We're going to try a D major scale again, but I really want you to hear the next note before you play it, and really see if you can create your pitching within the framework that we've done. So we're going to do two beats for each note. So 1, 2, D, F sharp, G. Hear your violin ring. A, B, C sharp. Listen to it going up to the top D. Now test here, test your open D. Tune your hand. Now we're going to come back down again. Choose your C sharp. B, A. Get ready for the G. Stop and tune. Open G. Adjust. Choose your F sharp. E. D. So, you probably all played a beautiful D major scale the first time we did it at the very start of the video. And now I've deconstructed it in a Baby Shark way into 2 halves and created an ear framework. Now, you could probably play a D major scale in tune anyway, but when we get to harder scales, where we don't have as many open strings to help us with our pitching, being able to create that ear framework so that we can really listen for how the notes relate to each other is really, really important. And it just slows down our scale practice. So it's not just about getting the right finger patterns, it's about really, really getting them in tune and understanding where those fingers live and creating the link between our ears and a gentle hand that then translates into your violin or cello or viola playing, and your tuning it's like a flower. We're watering it when we're practicing our scales like this, and then it just blossoms, and your whole instrument will ring and feel much nicer when you take the time to really connect your ears to your fingers to your voice. Okay, so there you go, that's Baby Shark Scales Part 1. We're going to do Baby Shark Scales Part 2 on F major scale, so that's for the violins, or I might pick another scale, probably I'll have a think, but we're going to put it onto a harder scale in the next video, but we're going to apply the same logic and see if that helps. Okay, so I'll see you then.